I'm gonna ask you the same thing everybody asks about. I mean, number one about the playoff. It is so hard to get into it.
It is.
It is so hard. You have
It's
to,
a popularity
everything
contest.
has to go right for you to get in.
Right.
And it's hard because nobody's perfect. You're gonna lose games along the way. You literally have to go undefeated, or at most lose one game to get in because they're not gonna put 2 lost teams in.
No.
They've shown that.
And
It is so
that's
hard
the
to
biggest
get in.
argument against the 8-seed tournament is now we have 2 lost teams in the playoff.
Yeah.
Why I can't put 8 teams in if 6 of them have 2 or like 4 of them have 2 losses. They didn't earn it because at that point, like after the top 4, which are normally you can tell or top 5. I think even last year was top 5, where those were the 5 best teams in the country, and everyone else below them wasn't good. I mean, we see it. The 4th seed gets blown out by the 1 seed nearly every year.
Yeah.
Besides when Ohio State won the championship as the 4th seed. Every year, though, the 4th seed gets blown out.
And yeah, but like
So
like
how can we argue for 8 when 4 already gives us blowouts?
I always said 6. I like 6.
6 and 1 and 2 get the
Yeah,
buys.
get the buys. I think that's if you're gonna expand it, that's the likely route I would go.
Right.
Because 8's too big, and like you're saying, I mean, when half the teams are in it are not going to be on the same level as the top 4 teams.
And then the other issue is when we look at these top 6s. Well, 3 or 4 of them is already SEC. They already face each other. We already know who's better.
Yeah.
It's like kind of the thing when they keep putting in like 2 SEC teams like Alabama and Georgia who face during the regular season, then face in the SEC championship. I'm like, we already know who wins this matchup.
Yeah.
Why are we seeing? Well, I mean, who is the best? Because the college football playoff, those semifinals are to determine who are the 2 best teams in the country. We already know one of those matchups. Why are we going at this again? We already know who wins. We already know one team is better. Playing it again is not changing anything, and it normally happens that way anyways.
I just, like I said, it's not to discredit, I mean, 2 losses you've never been in,
right.
But it's not to just discredit, you have 2 losses, you're not good. It's hard to just lose 2 games. You lose 2 games, you still have a good season.
Right. You're still a great team.
But it is so hard to get into the playoff. It's so hard for people to get in.
But for the most part,
every year
a 2-loss team isn't competing against an undefeated Bama.
Mostly every year since they've had the playoff, it's either been Alabama, Clemson, or Ohio State. So that leaves only one spot for another team to get in.
Like
and it's so hard to get that.
Didn't Michigan State get in one year?
Michigan State got in. They got
killed like 38.
They got shut out.
38-0 against Alabama. I remember.
And then the next year, Ohio State was put in against Clemson. Probably the worst Ohio State team in a couple of years. 31-0 against Clemson.
That was the year they
right.
They could have got in. But
I thought should have.
And then after that, the Big Ten was left out the next 2 seasons, I think it was.
Yeah, because Ohio State missed the last 2.
Right.
Than they were in last year. Yeah. But it is a tough road in college football to get in there. You literally have to be perfect to get in.
And the biggest problem people have is the group of 5 doesn't get a chance.
Which I think should.
Maybe.
Cincinnati's been pretty good this year.
Yeah, but the issue is this year, no out-of-conference games.
Put them in.
So we don't have the chance to see Cincinnati even go up against somebody like Minnesota or something.
Yeah.
Even like a bad Power 5 team. We don't have the chance to see what they look like against actual, 4 and 5-star prospects.
But I mean, that's the case with everybody this year.
Right.
Like you're saying.
But at least we're talking about Power 5 teams, they're going up against other Power 5 teams. So every time they're going to have a better strength of schedule, a better strength of record, better quality wins. Even a 5-point win in the Power 5 is better than a 20-point win in the Group of 5.
I mean, I'm just using Ohio State as an
Go
example.
ahead.
This isn't just to discredit them, but you can even say it about Clemson too. When you're just playing all your conference games and no out-of-conference games, you're playing against pretty much everybody in your conference. There's only a couple good teams. Everybody else stinks.
Right.
Like Clemson, they just played Pitt. The ACC stinks.
Oh, yeah.
The Big Ten outside of Ohio State, I don't even know who you can include this year. Pretty much stinks.
Northwestern and Indiana, I'd put. And then
Yeah,
Wisconsin, we haven't got to see. Iowa's good this year.
But
it's always the top half is good, the bottom half is garbage.
Yeah, but that's not Ohio State's division.
Right.
I mean, they're all in the West. The Big Ten East. I mean, they're all playing. Indiana was probably their toughest game this year.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, Penn State stinks this year.
Ohio State got handed an easy schedule, I admit.
I know. I'm not discrediting them.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. I mean,
right.
It's even with the SEC. I mean, there's bad teams in every conference.